Yep.
No.
What's up, guys? This is Stevie Fly Avatar, and it's time for On the Fly.
This is the real Jason Warden right here, though.
Yeah, I mean, what's wrong with this? I've got my avatar going. I mean, AI should be fine. Should be fine tonight. But no, I'll shoot kidding aside, guys. What's up? On the Fly's back again with me tonight, as always, is Mr. Warden. He won't
Steve
go to
back from the
school again.
Steve back from the brink of death, I hear.
Yeah, that guys. Last week was rough. Last Monday night, I felt it coming Monday afternoon, and Monday night, boy, something creeped on me. It had to be the flu. It wasn't COVID. So I got through it. Still, my voice. Apologize for my voice. Sounds a little. I got more bass in my voice than I usually do. I'm still a little.
Dropping the beats. Boo, boo, boo,
Yeah. Oh, I'm one of the fat boys over there. Human beatbox from the fat boys right there. But yeah, we're back. Glad to be back. And tonight we will be continuing our tribute to Kiss, I guess, whatever. We probably should call it off now after what I saw. But after 45 years, I'm not going to do that. But tonight we will be doing our top 10 favorite Peter Criss songs, and we're talking about what he sang.
And yes, there were 10.
There was 10, and I did not pull from the solo album. Well, one solo album, not the ones after he left Kiss, though. Not Out of Control or Let Me Rock You, or what was that? God, what was the last one?
What was the one he did with? Didn't he do one with Mark St. John, the Cat, or something like that?
No. Yeah, Cat One or something like that. But the one he just did recently, that was, sorry, Peter, I love you, bud, but it was god awful. The one where he did a song called "Send in the Clowns," but it was not good.
What, he didn't have Sin in the Avatars?
Yeah, I mean, all right. Let's see, what was it? And this is just bringing up his. This is just bringing up his freaking solo album. I don't know. I'll come up with it in a minute. So let's get right into some stuff we haven't talked about since the last time we were here. Of course, talking about Kiss, which we're representing. The final Kiss concert, the last stop on the end of the road, happened. What was it? 2 Saturdays? Last Saturday.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't last Saturday. Saturday before last.
Saturday before last.
And after I debated for a long time, I was like, after they made the announcement, Bruce Kulick was not going to be there. He made the announcement he would not be there. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna get it, because if he's not, I know of all people, if he's not gonna be there, then chances are you're not gonna see anything special. And
you did see something special. You saw Kiss in their last show.
Name of the album I was thinking about with Peter Criss was "One for All," and it was one too many.
Wasn't it a Bryan Adams, Sting, and Rod Stewart song?
All for One. You got it backwards. What do you must be.
No, I thought that was the band that sang "I'll Swear." I swear.
You still got it backwards. All for One. Yeah. So about 7:30 that night, I decided, I'm gonna get it. If I don't, something special happens, I'll be disappointed. And got it. And let me tell you, bud, I don't know what you thought. Let's start with the pregame festivities. That girl that was doing the interview was just as annoying as the day was long.
God, you people are so fucking old.
Oh my God!
Get off my line! It's not that. I mean, who did you want? Like Kari Wurst, circa 1988?
No, I actually wanted somebody that knew something about Kiss. She knew nothing about Kiss. And the guy in the audience, it was like Dick Clark's New Year's Eve all over again. He was like, "Oh, hey, I don't know who this band is, but yeah, we're here." I mean, they had no clue. Why is Chris Angel there? A big Kiss fan. So freaking what? You could have had, instead of Chris Angel, you could have had Bruce Kulick up there. You could have invited Bruce up there and interviewed him. Desmond Child, no problem there. Big part of Kiss history. And I don't, when they were showing the pre-recorded interviews, was your reception was it like really choppy?
Not at all.
Because a lot of people, including me, we were talking a lot that night.
See, when you belong to the Gene and Paul cult, you get that shit to stream. The Ace cult out there got their shit messed up. I just want you. I mean, that's a secret I shouldn't have shared. But
yeah,
in our Gene and Paul cult meeting, that's what they told us.
Anyway, well, there's a lot of people in the Ace cult. I'll put it that way. That talked to me about asking me, is yours messing up? And when the live feed happened, it was fine. But when they showed like the interviews with Paul and Gene and Tommy and Eric, it was like their mouth was moving. It was like the audio was behind or ahead of the.
So it's obviously like Paul's on stage already. Is that what you're trying to say?
Oh, so you just got kicked out of the Paul cult right there.
No, it's over. They can't, dude. I was there to the end, so they can't do it.
No, the avatars are going to come get you. Anyway,
it's funny. I've seen all this bitching and complaining about stuff. If you haven't known that Kiss has been mailing it in since in my opinion, since the reunion tour. Yeah, the reunion tour was great, but they've been doing this for years. There should be no surprise. They did a farewell already. They said their goodbyes. Could they have done more and brought people out? Yeah. Could they have been bigger people? Yeah. But I think personally, COVID except Gene, I think Gene was still into it. But I think it's like, our buddy Tom said from Shout Out Outcast, Paul checked out and was just done with it.
Checked out. He's ready for Soul Station.
He interviewed, you look at Tommy Thayer and people are hating on Tommy Thayer. That is one of the most gracious dudes around. He was out there and he was the only one next to Gene. Like, damn, I think Eric and Paul probably went off to a club. But Gene and Tommy were there and Tommy was taking it all in like any Kiss fan should.
I honestly think Tommy wasn't scheduled to be interviewed. He came out because and then they interviewed him then. But yeah, you saw no Eric or Paul, and you saw the only emotion you saw was Gene.
Yeah.
Gene got choked up on stage once, and then backstage when they did that interview.
Talking about his kidney stone.
Kidney stone from the head of
my schmeckle, or what did he say?
Schmeckle, yeah. And after he realized what he said the first time, and it was being broadcast, like he's like, "Oh my schmeckle."
It's funny with this stuff, and all these years, what got me into Kiss was Gene Simmons when he was just debating those preachers on those anti-rock things. And I was watching that pay-per-view. I didn't expect anything. I wasn't disappointed. Was I overly joyed? No, because I love Bruce Kulick. I wish Bruce would have been there.
The show was pretty good.
But, going into Kiss when they were active, it was Gene. And honestly, tell you what, Stevie, leaving, it was Gene again. I found my love for Gene again, the Demon. Paul's checked out. He's 70 years old. I check. I go to bed at 9:00. So who am I to throw shit? And I'm only 51. But it's like, Gene just, and I think they probably would have done more if it was up to Gene. Because when Paul said that shit about our mom was there, that got to him.
Yeah.
And Gene has grown up so much. And we talked about some previous episodes.
Yeah.
Gene kind of annoyed me because everything was about, fucking and groupies and shit. But it's like, and even Paul was like, oh my God, okay, so many, Yeah. But Gene has grown up, I guess, so to speak, in age. Paul's just become like an old man. It's
like we said, Shannon's had a lot to do with that, I think.
And I think Tom and Zeus and other people have said it. Who really looks good right here is Peter Criss, because he's not going on Eddie Trump cutting. Yeah, and Bruce too, but Bruce isn't an original member.
Yeah.
But I think Peter Criss made his peace with Gene, not Paul, when he was doing that stuff, and when he did the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Peter, you haven't heard a bad thing about Kiss since then, really.
And it was a classy remark he made, prior to the last concert, the statement he put out. not bashing anybody, was proud of.
And honestly, and honestly, I saw a lot of people say, well, Kiss ended in 1979 when Peter Criss left. I don't agree with that because, of course, I'm a non-makeup person. But there is one thing Kiss should have done in '79 and not brought it back until the reunion tour, and that was play Beth. You don't. I mean, and the thing of doing with Ace with the Shock Me, it's not as. I mean, I don't know. Beth is that's their biggest hit. That should have, that could have been cool if they would have brought Pete out to play that. But I don't think I think he would have done it and not worried about the makeup because I think Pete's checked out. So when he sold the makeup, he checked out.
I think he would have done it too.
I think they had a better chance of getting Pete than Ace. But I think in Paul's mind, they're a package deal. Gene, I think Gene's just trying to, hey, we're not going to be alive. And I think it was up to Gene. If this was like 1979 when he was running the show like on Tom Schneider, those guys would have been out there. Or at least Peter would have been.
Definitely. I believe that too. I think Paul made the call on that. But yeah, I did like, Gene didn't let us down. Gene is over the years has a reputation for messing up lyrics and getting a verse mixed up. Deuce, he repeated. He did.
I noticed that too. Yeah.
So honestly, he did not let us down there.
I took it all in when I saw them in Austin like 2 years ago. I remember Tom talking about on the when they reviewed it. They said he didn't take his camera out and stuff. This is the last time I'm going to see my band. I mean, I wasn't second row. Don't get me wrong. I was like 10th row. I had pretty good seats.
Yeah.
But and I watched the pay-per-view because it's like, hell, what's 40 more bucks to my favorite band? I like going to you watch Cribs. Hell, I helped build that Gene Hall. Going to the Cowboys game. Hell, I helped build that freaking AT&T stadium. I mean, it's just something that, you just, being there, I think I would have loved to be there and doing it. But these people that are saying they're disappointed in Kiss, I get that, but to say you're ashamed to be a fan, I don't get that.
Oh no, I'm not ashamed to be a fan. I'm just.
But a lot of people that do that though are on the Ace side. I mean, that's the whole Eddie Trunk. Like I saw that they celebrate his thing. I go, how much Gene and Paul bashing went on in that freaking get together? I mean, it's just I'm tired of it, and it's just, and maybe Paul is too. He's just tired of the fight, But if you're tired of it, don't freaking slag people for addictions they had that they beat a long time ago. I mean, I don't get that shit either.
Exactly. Look, and the thing that disappointed me more than anything, and I'll drop it after that, was Paul. Like we said, he's checked out. No emotion at all after 50 years. You got 50 years tied with this band. This has been your livelihood. This is what got you where you are at right now. And how are you not emotional about what your hometown did for you? Exactly.
It's like the Shout Out Loud guy said, you think Boston's going to do that for Aerosmith? No. I mean, I think Gene was, and I think the other, I don't know about Eric. It's hard to read him. But I think Eric. Gene and Tommy were definitely, and Tommy gets a lot of shit. Oh, big Ace, and I mean that Tommy Thayer owes nobody nothing. Kiss owns that makeup. He can wear it. It's a job. Should they got more makeup? That's another podcast. Yes.
Yeah, that's another.
But he's there to do a job, and you know why he's there is because he's reliable.
Yeah. I'm like this for the whole thing. I put myself in Paul's situation. I don't know how I would have. I would have been a nervous wreck all night if that was my last show. But that's the difference, he's just ready to go. I mean,
it's a job to do.
The whole delay from COVID really, Paul thought this should be over 2 years ago.
You can see the difference between Paul from like 2019 up till now. He wasn't, before, and I've saw him 3 times on this tour. And the first 2 shows before COVID, he was out there fist pumping. But I mean, the guy's also 4 years older. He's 70. Yeah. He's had hip resurgence. I mean,
he's had a lot go on.
I mean, I think in Paul's own way, he loves the fans. He, but he just hasn't. He's not as open to show it like he once was. I mean, he used to say in the Live 3, "How we're honored to be here tonight." Where's that Paul Stanley at? Where's that at? And it's to me, I think when they put the makeup back on, it was just. I mean, the reunion tour was great. It was big and everything, but they knew they were a nostalgia act, and maybe Paul was done with it. I mean, and I think Gene probably kisses ass so much because honestly, Paul may not have done this tour. He may have been done with it before and not come back, and he had to kind of relinquish control. So Gene, if anybody's probably responsible for Kiss going on.
Yep. One thing I'll say too, the way, and I don't know if he's done this. He's probably done this the whole end of the road tour, or at least the last leg of it. The way Gene did God of Thunder, freaking cool. Awesome. Yeah, with that bell going off, and man, and you could tell he was really into it that last concert.
And they got all those pods showing it. I got pictures of that from the shows I saw. Yeah. So, but it, like people were saying, it was the same show that I saw in Austin and I saw in San Antonio.
It was the same exact show. Nothing different, except
I think was it Making Love? It was that they haven't done that all tour.
They haven't. They added Making Love.
I love that song, and I agree. That is one of Ace's best solos.
Then you get Paul after Rock and Roll Nights ended. You get this, we're after they get this email saying don't, the end is only the beginning. It's not time to sleep, Kiss Army, and you see all this smoke coming up, and all of a sudden we've got Kiss avatars. That's the big announcement that they have been playing up. So I guess we're going to have AI Kiss avatars going on tour now, kind of like what ABBA does.
I know me and you, the old farts that we are, we weren't too excited, but one of our co-hosts, Jack, he was into it. He was explaining everything that was about it. I mean, he seemed more know it than I did.
He knows about it, but
not a fan.
Jack talked back and forth a little bit, and Jack is not too optimistic about it. I'll put it that way.
But there's a touring band called the Blue Man Group. You ever see them in concert? They're funny as hell. They got different doing it. That's what Kiss is doing. They probably got a lot of backlash. Oh, we're going to replace Gene and Paul. No, you're not. And this lets Kiss move on. I looked at what they did, and I work in technology. It's kind of like electric cars. Yeah, it's a great idea, but the technology is just not there yet because you got to pay like a $15,000 battery.
Yeah.
The technology, I mean, I don't think it looks any better than what Psycho Circus looked like, and I thought that was a train wreck. I mean, it was kind of cool with the video, but
here's the thing: if you're going to do this, and I know they go by what they're tracking their face and all this stuff. Make them look like they did back in the 70s. Don't make them look like, Gene and Paul and Eric and Tom.
Paul looks like he's in a damn tribute band. Gene looks like he's about 80 pounds overweight.
Oh, jeez.
I saw one comment says, you notice that Tommy's the one into technology and he's the only one that actually looks kind of like Tommy. I'm like,
exactly. Look, and don't look, these messages that are coming out from them, you don't have to identify yourself as, hey, Gene Simmons avatar, every time. It's cringy. I mean, we know we're not stupid.
But they've been doing this for a while. Did you notice with Tommy and Eric, they said the Catman, the spaceman, the demon. They've been like conditioning us for years. Well, that's why this doesn't really. Would I have done it this way? No. It's like you need a kind of a chance to breathe. I mean, it's like
they should have done it like a week later.
Well, and that's why you have these teams like the Patriots and even the Cowboys, the Steelers, that people hate them after a while because they're always the ones in the playoffs.
Yep.
That's why people hate. They're tired of seeing the same team. Cowboys can't really say they are, but you know what I'm saying? It's just give it a break, give it a rest.
That was a freaking commercial for that
was.
The other night. I mean,
they spent more on doing the commercial than they did saying goodbye, which I think that was a slap in the face. But maybe I read somebody saying, "No, this is typical Doc McGee," and I'm like, well, I mean, they said a lot of goodbyes on the farewell tour.
Yeah. All right. So we've got comments rolling in. Jim Britt is saying Beth. I'm guessing that's his favorite song. He's been a fan since '76. He needs a deuce. And he thinks all that matters is the original four. That's okay. That's your opinion. And uh, he was in the Kiss Army '76. I don't know who you are, Facebook user. Where did your comments go?
Along with your username, that's where it went. It went bye-bye.
We don't know who you are either. I didn't see any comments come up there. But anyway, all right. So before we get to talking about Peter Criss, top 10.
Speaking of disappointment, how about that new Ace song?
I was not disappointed. I mean,
it's
put it
not
to you
good.
this way. Hey, hold on. Put it to you this way. Look at the last 3 Ace albums. Compare it.
I did like, what was that one what was that one song? What's the one he did the song for? The You Make Me Feel, or You Give Me That Feeling, or that's a badass dude.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just it's too much. Oh, I'm from space, and
well,
I mean, I'll just say that I liked it about as much as I did the last Soul Station album. I'll put it there. How's that?
I actually liked it, but I thought it was a good song. He does a good job. It's better what he's been doing.
It's kind of like Monster, and it's kind of like what's the one before that? Sonic Boom.
Sonic Boom.
I think the music's great. I'm just not crazy about the content. It's just weird to hear 70-year-old guys talk about getting laid. It's just weird.
Yeah. All right, Jim Britt. He's the one asking where his comments went. Dude, they're all in here. Yep. We're seeing them all. I'm seeing them all right now.
I'm a hooligan, and I don't go to school again, so I can't read. So
got a 55 Chevy on a 65 frame. Can't even spell your name. Anyway, before we get to the music, back to the music, we got Worden. Of course, unfortunately, is a diehard Cowboys fan. And Worden got to go to the Cowboys-Eagles game Sunday night.
First of all, I want to shout out to my buddy that did the Mr. Mike Castillo that did the trip for us. If you're in the San Antonio area, 210 Cowboys is his number. He's a diehard. That was a nice little thing. And, they talk about the Grinch. The Grinch just stole the number one division, and that was there. But, I've heard everybody say, well, they wouldn't have done it without San Francisco. Yeah, I get it. I'm not one of these people that say we're going to win it all. I have been the biggest critic of Dak Prescott, but the guy's having a great year.
Yes.
But honestly, if the Cowboys go, and the media and a lot of this is on the media, because I even heard Stephen A. Smith, this seems different. And it's like, no, I'm not ready to do that yet. The Eagles have been banged up. The Eagles have gotten very lucky with a lot of teams. The Cowboys, the Eagles knew how to close. The Cowboys didn't. The Cowboys maybe, they can throw up a lot of points and get their defense. They're a good team. But they can't let somebody drop 40 on them, like 42, actually, like the 49ers did. Right. I'm happy we got Buffalo next, and we got to go to Miami. We got to go Buffalo, Miami, then we got Detroit. Those 3 teams, and Washington always plays us tough.
Yeah.
So in the next 4 weeks, I'm not saying, hey, we're going to do this. I have a lot of good time. I mean, my Facebook picture is a picture. I'm an old school Cowboy, Landry and Staubach. My buddy Steve gave me a Staubach jersey for Christmas. I've wanted one forever. I haven't had one since I was a little kid. But, I mean, I'm a Cowboy fan, and, I call a lot of people, play for other college teams and sometimes even politics, accuse them of being in a cult. Well, I'm in the Cowboys cult because I drink the Kool-Aid. But I'm a realist, Jerry Jones walked by, hey, I hate you, but I love you. I mean, it's just, it's week to week with the Cowboys. I mean, if we play in the NFC division game, which everybody's saying we're going to do, which I don't really believe yet, because I think the Packers are an underrated team. I mean, they lost last night, but I think the Packers got a quarterback in the future. But, what's going to happen is, I'm going to say this as a Cowboy fan. I'll probably piss off a lot of Cowboy fans.
Uh-oh.
Dak Prescott's going to do just enough to get the biggest contract in NFL history. And then when he gets that next year, he'll be back to the old Dak, 19 interceptions. I'm so jaded as a Cowboy fan. I just look at it that way. I can't help myself. It's like I give Stevie and all these, ace cult people all this shit they give about Kiss. I'm like that with the Cowboys. It's like it's like there's an old saying, there's a Cowboy's girlfriend, man, she's looking good. Come around December, January, knocking on that door. Let me in, let me in. It's like, no, you're going to break my heart to get in. You fucking let her in because she's hot. But, then she runs off with, San Francisco for the last 2 years. So whatever.
It's just like I said last night. We were live here, and I said, Cowboy fans, you got the Eagles. That's good. But you got to get over the hump with the team that's put you out the last 2 times.
Well, first things first, they got to beat a team with a winning record. They've done that. So they got to worry about Buffalo. They don't need to worry about Miami. They don't need to worry about Detroit. They don't need to worry about Washington. They don't need to worry about San Francisco. They need to worry about Buffalo, one game at a time. But that start looking good, and those players bleed into it. I'm hoping, like I heard Stephen A. Smith, this seems different with Parsons and even Dak. Dak, he says he's free now that Kellen Moore's gone. But, I'm enjoying my Longhorns are in the college football tournament. I'm happy about that. Yes, Florida State got screwed, but it should have been them over Alabama. But this is why Texas and Oklahoma are going into the SEC, because the SEC, I think if Bama if Bama would have lost, they would have put Georgia in there. They'd had to without it bleeded. But, if say Georgia had 2 losses, one of them would have got in.
Georgia didn't have a 1 loss.
I know, but I'm just saying somebody from the SEC was getting in there.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
I mean, if Georgia won, they were undefeated. They were number 1, and that's another thing. Georgia was number 1 team in the country for the last 2 years.
But what have you done for? That's what I'm saying, George. They would have made the excuse to either keep Texas or FSU out, saying, "Well, Georgia's the defending champion."
Yeah,
and honestly, it tells you everything. When they were announcing the seeds, and Michigan saw that Alabama was in it.
Yep.
I mean, Michigan, they claim to be all badass and shit, but they've only beaten Ohio State by 3. Ohio State got last year missing that field goal. They should have been in there, not TCU. You know what I'm saying?
I think seeing that, Alabama is going to play in the national championship game because Michigan's already beat. When you see a team let out a sigh of like, when they've got to play somebody, that you're already giving Alabama an advantage right there. I mean, they know you're you're intimidated by them already.
Well, they were asking like our coach about, what do you think or whatever, Bama or Michigan. He goes, we're thinking about Washington, because there's a little game that's played here in San Antonio called the Alamo Bowl. Guess who played Washington last year, and guess who lost to Washington last year? My Horns. So don't overlook it. They're undefeated for a reason. Yeah, they may not have, what the coach for, they may not have Saban or whatever, or khaki pant guy that used to coach San Francisco and Michigan, but they're still in the top 4. And I personally think, you could have gone away with FSU. And of course, I'm a biased Texans fan, but if Bama got in, you have to put Texas in. I mean, if anybody should have been out, but I don't think the SEC was going to be out. Why do you think 2 of the biggest teams out there, the 2 biggest teams in the Big 12, are going to the SEC? Because the SEC is what matters. I mean, you got more eyes on it and everything. And I hate to say that, but if FSU moved to the SEC, I mean, maybe they get in. Who knows?
Yep. It's going to come down to where it's like two conferences for long.
And you know me, Stevie, I'm not a big college football. I follow the Longhorns, and anytime we beat the Aggies and it's OU, and I'm not the college of football aficionado that you are, but I'm smart enough to see that. And I'm a casual fan, and I don't think OU and Texas should go, because I think it's easier, and this year proves it, to get into the championship when you're not in the SEC.
Yeah.
That's just me, though.
All right. So we've done our Dallas Cowboy cult experience.
We have talked about 2 of our favorite things: Kiss and football, college and pro.
Exactly. I'm looking for them.
Who's North Carolina playing in the bowl?
They're playing in the Pop-Tart Bowl.
The Pop-Tart.
There's a Pop-Tart Bowl. Believe me. I did a podcast Sunday night, and we did like we did our picks from, I guess, from now until December 27th bowl games. We did part 1 and part 2. And some of the names, the famous Toastery Bowl, that's one of them. And that's a restaurant in Charlotte, North Carolina, but
Wow.
still, famous Toastery Bowl. It used to be the Bahamas Bowl.
They're here in San Antonio.
Oh, that's right. NC State is in the Pop-Tart Bowl, not Carolina.
Here in San Antonio, before it was called the Alamo Bowl, it was called the Builder Square Bowl. Remember Builder Square?
Yeah, I do.
It's like a Home Depot or whatever.
Yeah, there's too many bowl games. I mean, they could do away with a lot of these. You know, when
you say that, but I mean, people still watch them though. I mean, football's key.
I believe it.
I don't. You said there's too many bowls. I disagree with you. If there's too much of anything, there's too much baseball.
Dude, bowl games used to mean something. When you win 6 games to get to a bowl game.
Yeah, but football is only 15, 16 games. You don't have 180, 62 games like in baseball. That needs to be.
But I'm not a big baseball fan either.
But baseball would be more exciting if you didn't have as many games. Football, I'll wear a bowl and I'll watch it. But that's
bowl games used to mean a lot more. This has become more of
corporate
participation. You know, when you're there's a team playing in a bowl game that's 5-7.
That the Aggies?
But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying.
It's
becoming a participation thing. Okay, you won 5 games. You don't have a winning record, but you're going to a bowl game.
I agree.
That's like around here, the state playoffs. That used to mean something when you got to the state playoffs, especially like basketball around here. We have a lot of teams that opt out because they were so bad that they didn't want to be in it. I mean, a team that won one.
Now they're just doing that in the transfer portal. That's what they're doing now. The teams aren't doing it. The players are.
College football is becoming more of a business than the NFL.
Well, they have to now since they got to pay the players. They can't just make all that money off their names.
Marvin Harrison Jr. He's a junior in college. Thinking about
Ohio State.
Thinking about entering the NFL draft, but it's going to get paid more in NIL money if he stays at Ohio State than going into the draft. And he wants to come back and beat Michigan. I wouldn't blame him. I'd come back too.
Yeah, but if you got a chance to get a big ass contract in the NFL, I wouldn't play a bowl game either unless it meant something like the 4.
That's excuse my language, that's a pussy way out is what I feel like. Because let me tell you, first of all, that university gave you a scholarship. You committed to that university. They're giving you an education. Yeah, you're putting yourself out there, have you? Second of all, the most important thing to me, you made a commitment to those other guys on that team. And you're going to tell me you could play. Okay, let me see.
Okay, I'm talking about leaving college to go to the pros. I'm not talking about living in the portal to miss a bowl game.
I'm talking about opting out of the bowl game.
No, I'm talking about, hey, if you give me more. No. I think it's shitty. I don't think it should be allowed until after the bowl games. The 765 bowl games that we have, evidently.
It's you know how many?
No, I agree.
Take a wild guess how many bowl games there are.
How many?
Just take a guess.
500.
Take a reasonable guess.
120?
Dude, there's not
75?
That would mean you had 150 college football teams.
I'm not a college football aficionado, man.
There is 41 bowl games.
Yeah. No, I agree the bowl games, but it's a lot of college players look at it like the Pro Bowl. It's just like, I don't have to be there, and that's the way a lot of them look at it.
Because when we did our picks the other night, the first question we asked before every pick was, is their quarterback not playing in this game? Is he opted out of this game? And at least a quarter or maybe a quarter of them that was the case.
Even the quarterback from Bama, did he enter the portal? Well, I heard some Bama quarterback did. There was rumors about.
There was another one. There's somebody. It was a big name that did. I can't remember who it was, but Jim Britt is out here talking about you support your brothers. That's right. You made a commitment. And all of a
No, I
sudden,
agree.
these guys are scared they're going to get hurt. But you played 12 games all year long. And all of a sudden, you're scared that last game you're going to get hurt. That ain't nothing but, guess what? We don't have anything to play for. We're not in the tournament. We're not in the
But
championship series.
how can you say that if you're just talking about how meaningless the bowls are? If you're playing in the Tidy Bowl, do you really want to risk an injury to play for that
No,
worthless bowl?
okay,
But you can't have it both ways.
Let's go back to the 80s. Let's go back to the 80s when guys didn't do this crap, didn't opt out of their bowl game. Because the thing I'm trying to tell you, let's say, let's see, if somebody had made a commitment to you and just decided at the last minute, okay, guess what? I decided I'm not going to do that. I'm scared I might get hurt. What's that going to do to you? That if you play on a team,
but you said it earlier. The bowls meant more back then. They don't mean as much
they
now.
do. But what I'm saying is,
evidently not to the players.
You made a commitment to that team and to that school to play a full season. If you're going to opt out,
well, okay. You were ragging on the 5-7 team.
Yeah.
So if Joe Schmo from Indiana or whatever doesn't play in that bowl because you're talking about how worthless, you look down on him for that?
I think he's a stupid idiot for not playing. If you're a 5-7 team and got a chance to play in a bowl game, you better take it.
Yeah. See, I agree with you, but I'm just saying I agree with you because
whether I'm playing on a team that's won one game or a team that's undefeated, I'm going to finish the season.
But I
made a commitment to those other guys on that team.
You're something called Gen X. Millennials don't think that way. They think about how many clicks I can get and all that.
Brett said it right there. If you don't play, then your word doesn't mean shit.
I agree. I totally agree.
Exactly.
I agree.
Case closed.
And you know what? You know what pisses me off is when somebody, a coach like Pete Carroll. This is why I can't stand Pete Carroll. They do all this shit. They abuse the rules. They were talking about Harbaugh doing this, and they leave that team. And they leave that team to suffer the consequences, but the coach gets off scot-free, goes to the NFL. That's what pisses me off. That's why I can't stand Pete Carroll. That's why, even the guy from, the guy from Penn State when all that crap was going on, there is no way in hell that guy didn't know what was going on.
Yep.
See, that's what gets me. I mean, even more when the player, like Penn State had to go through so much shit, and it wasn't those players coming in at fault. I mean, they should just, put fines on the coaches, not the players. I mean, I don't agree with that, That's why I can't stand Pete Carroll, and I'm glad he loses.
Okay, so the sports section of On the Fly is over with.
Now, man, I know how to tick Steve off, man. It's like, damn, man, quit your team there, man. I was like, we've had some heated discussion for it, but goddamn, dude, that got under you. You're like Peter Griffith, man. What grinds my gears? Son of a bitch.
Yeah, that last night in that live, boy, there was one guy.
I agree with you.
And I mean, look, let me tell you, and I made it clear last night because that guy was like, I'm not arguing. I said, I'm not either. But and look, everybody's just because me and Worden have a difference of opinion doesn't mean I hate Worden or he hates me or anything. I don't know.
He hates me for obvious other reasons,
Yeah, there's plenty of other reasons that I hate Worden. But anyway. All right.
If we agreed on everything, it would be boring as hell.
It would be a boring place, and it doesn't mean because you disagree. Well, I gotta hate him.
I mean, look. You got Stevie over here in the Ace cult. You got Worden over here in the Gene and Paul cult. I mean, we represent two different eras from Kiss.
Look,
I mean, it's just
here right now. Ace is my favorite Kiss member, but I am not in the Ace cult. I see. And you ask who was it? It was Joe Decker. Yeah. Me and him had a 2-hour phone conversation the other night, and we were talking about Ace.
You guys are cult. Yeah, you guys are in the cult. Sorry.
No.
2-hour conversation.
The talk was majority about how Ace is struggling right now.
And he's 70 years old.
Exactly. And it's just like with Paul with his voice. He's 70 years old. He's been doing it for 50 years. Give the guy a break about his voice. I mean,
but that, I give you shit about the Ace cult. I don't call myself the Gene and Paul cult. It's just if you prefer a certain band, you're in the cult. Like, okay, whatever. That's why I just like when this Avatar thing came out, You know what I did? I went and played the Alive Uncensored I have on my, because that was what got me into Kiss. So, I mean,
Yeah.
music one.
All right. So now we could get to the main event. We're all fired up now.
You know, I hate it when people leave bands. No, I'm just kidding. Peter Criss. He didn't really leave, though. He was kind of asked to leave. So.
Kind of asked to leave. You know the whole story about the audition when he brought sheet music in, and yeah, he didn't do too well with the sheet music. So our top 10, Peter Criss, and you know Peter Criss. How do I say? He's not in my top. As far how many members of Kiss have there been? 4, 5, 6. Has it been 10?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Gene, Paul, Ace, Pete, Eric, Vinny, Mark St. John, Bruce, Eric Singer, Tommy Thayer, 11.
11.
Miss anybody?
Pete might not be in my top 5, but he still is one. You know, and all my top guys. It's hard. You know, I don't hate any of them. I mean, all of them I love, but we wanted to go through all of especially the original 4, because after that you don't have enough really to. What do you got? You got Eric Carr sang 2 songs, Bruce sang 1, and Tommy sang 2? Eric Singer sang 2. So you don't have enough to make a top 10 list after that.
I'm a 80s Kiss fan, but I am very well aware that there would be no 80s without the 70s. The 70s where it all started. Yes,
that's right.
And while the 70s isn't my favorite, I love all era. It's like Van Halen with me. I love Hagar. I love Roth. You know, and I like a couple Gary Shandling songs. Gary, what's his name? It's Gary Shandling. Who am I thinking about? Jerome. I like a couple of his songs on
Gary Shandling.
Yeah, Shandling. Hello.
Oh my gosh.
The next singer, Van Halen, Gary Shandling.
Next singer is Richard Lewis. So, and look, guys, it's so, to me, in my opinion, and I don't know if Ward agrees with me, just because you're a fan of one of them doesn't mean you can't like the other ones.
I agree.
I don't get that whole deal. I mean,
it's being a cult, Stevie. That's why they're called
exactly.
a cult.
So, I mean, all right. So our top 10 favorite Peter Criss songs, just fans over. You could have picked from any of his solo albums after he left Kiss, but I didn't. I'll go ahead and tell you, none of them made my list. But so I'm gonna let you go first.
Me? Okay.
How many ties do you have?
Huh?
How many ties do you have?
No ties on this one.
No.
I was actually going through that's what's great about, you know, Apple Music and Spotify now. You can go through it, and don't get me wrong, you know, you need to buy music. I bought every Kiss album sometimes 2 or 3 times over. I did this, and I was pleasantly surprised how many Kiss songs and Peter Criss songs I actually liked.
Yeah.
You know, you're saying he wouldn't be in your top 10. He would be in mine.
I didn't say top 10. I was talking about top 5. You think I wouldn't put him above? Come on, dude.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Maybe
okay,
yeah, you're right. You're right.
They only got 11. I wouldn't put Pete in at number 11.
Well, you're not counting that roadie that stood in for him in the reunion tour.
Cannon, that was his name. His drum tech.
I was supposed to surprise how many songs I liked, and you know, like I said, I wasn't an original fan. I knew who they were as a 5-year-old, but you know, I got into it when Asylum and Animalize, and you know, I noticed one thing about watching the show the other night. Back when I got into Kiss, there were like bras and panties on the mic stands. Now it's just a sweat rag. Where are the good times gone, Stevie?
Exactly.
So my number 10 is what I'm going with as my, you know, saying tonight. Won't Get Fooled Again. Hooligan is my number 10. And I love it. I love this song. But I think the lyrics kind of kill some of it for me.
Yeah.
Because
hold on before you go any further. You said won't get fooled again.
Oh, I did?
This ain't
it's a Hoover one. Yeah. Won't go to school again. Okay, let's say that. Sorry, I had like 2 Diet Dr. Peppers today. I'm still recovering from the weekend.
You talking about the Who?
Okay, I love this song. I think the music's great. But I remember like telling this to a buddy of mine that wasn't a Kiss fan back in high school. And I mean, they would make fun of me for this shit. I mean, I was called Jason Bon Jovi back in high school because I was such a metalhead. And it was like, I love that song, especially when I got Love Gun. But I love this song. I think it's actually one of the dumber lyric-wise Kiss songs. I mean, it's like,
yes, it is.
And next to You Lift Your Dress, You Want to Impress. I mean, it's like, talking about screwing a chick that's hot is a lot better than. I had to I think I looked up, what does he mean by so-and-so on a 55 frame? I didn't understand. I mean, I can't even spell my name. Who wrote this song? It wasn't the same guy that wrote, Tears Are Falling by himself, Paul Stanley this is more kind of a Gene. I think Gene, Living in Sin at the Holiday Inn. But I think kind of dumbing down, and it kind of takes away from me. But when it comes on, I won't flip it. Love Gun is probably next to Dress to Kill and Destroy. My top 3 favorite solo albums.
So
I won't go to school again, and I won't get fooled again.
You went down to the candy store. If you had a nickel, you buy some more, right?
That's
Dropped out of school when you were 22.
Yeah, but that's stupid. But when you compare it to some, get up and get your grandma out of here. I mean, that works for some reason. Because but just like I said, it's my number 10 because it takes away kind of this. But I love it though. I love the music. I think they wasted this song, the music it could have been a good rocker. I mean, in my opinion.
You think this should have been on live too?
Was it? It wasn't, right? No,
it wasn't. But it was. They played. They took it out, I think, because this was on that Alive 2 set.
I'm not a big fan of Alive 2. Everybody talks about how Kiss Alive 1 was overproduced. I think they got Kiss Alive 1 right. Kiss Alive 2, the crowd's just too loud for me. Especially as like Hard Luck Woman. It's just like, it's maybe if this would have been like how Kiss Alive was done, maybe. But I've heard this. I've seen live. Peter does okay. Peter's good live. Maybe it should have been. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not a big Alive 2 fan, so it's like
I actually think they took this off and replaced it with like Hard Luck Woman, even though Hard Luck Woman wasn't performed live. But yeah, I think that's what they did. I don't know why. I would love to hear that story. But all right.
Everybody says that Alive 1's overproduced. Alive 2's way overproduced for me. It's just too much crowd noise. Alive 1 got it right in my opinion, but that's my opinion.
That's another episode.
Yep.
So my number 10, and back in the day, I was vaccinated with a Victrola needle. I was hooked on rock and roll. From the solo album, 78 solo album, Hooked on Rock and Roll. I mean, I remember, and people bash this album so much.
Yeah.
But man, I played the heck out of this album. I didn't, of course there's some songs that are like way too, nothing as bad as Finally Found My Way. But
that is not a bad song.
Oh, it's garbage.
Peter's vocals on
I'm not saying.
Oh, wait.
Finally Found My Way is off Psycho Circus.
What's the one with? No, that's not a bad song. I like that song.
I
like Nothing is as bad as the Aerosmith ripoff. If you want to get technical about it.
Oh yeah.
Find My Way Back to You is Stairway to Heaven compared to that. That song is horrible.
But
I like that song. I think Peter's his voice is very genuine. It didn't make my list.
Yeah.
Shit, I forgot about that. That would have been my number 1. I don't mind that song. I actually like that song.
Hooked on Rock and Roll, though. I mean, that was off that solo album that gets bashed so much, but it's an upbeat song. He does a great job with it. You can tell I think that's the way he's singing. He's in his comfort zone with this kind of song. And then, of course, you got one of the fight scenes from Attack of the Phantoms when the one that came overseas is based or the music from this is on that. So Hooked on Rock and Roll is number 10 for me. And I'll tell you this this will not be the last of the solo album.
Good to hear.
Number 9 for you.
My number 9, it's been done by Garth Brooks, which I actually liked. I think this at one time was probably one of my favorite. You know how much of a big a fan of Rod Stewart I am.
I was getting ready to say.
I remember Paul said he wrote this for Rod Stewart. I think Rod Stewart would have done good, but I just can't see. And I like the Garth version. I don't know why they didn't release that as a single. That was the biggest star they had on that tribute album. I don't know if it was a record company deal, but I don't get why they didn't release it as a single. Because I got friends of mine that country, and they hear this. I go, "This is pretty good. Is this new?" And he liked it enough. He put it on his box set. He's worse than Kiss. He releases a box set of the same shit every year,
all the time.
I love Garth Brooks, but there's nobody better than Peter. I think it would have been kind of hard for Rod Stewart to top this one. But, I remember when I first seen this video off Extreme Close-Up, it's like Peter had his hair fluffed. It was all made up. And it's like when Ace and Paul are playing that Jimmy Page double neck guitar.
Yeah.
And that's not gay. We used to say that, because that's what we were in the 90s, Hard Luck Woman. I don't like the Alive 2 version because there's too much crowd noise. I've heard bootlegs of it.
Crowd noise.
I don't like the crowd noise because it seems like there's more. It's all girls.
Well,
it's like they're probably.
It's not. It's added on. I
don't like that.
It gets me that is a recorded version that they added.
They just did. It's like I Stole Your Love. I love that version on the live, but there's just too much crowd noise. You don't hear that on Houston when you see that. There wasn't that many people here, and I think that kind of messes up the Hard Luck Woman. I'm glad that nobody in Kiss I'm glad they didn't have Eric doing this. It probably would have been better if he would have done this because it wasn't a song written by Peter. But it just shows you the underrated. When Paul Stanley can write a song like this by himself and he can write a song like Tears Are Falling, he is a very, very, and some of the stuff on the Live to Win solo album, he is a very, he's checked out now, but Paul Stanley back in the day was a hell of a songwriter, and this is another example.
Yeah, I can't, like I said, I'm like you. I like Garth's version, but I cannot see anybody. Jim, he's actually older. Warden's actually older than me, right? By what, a year?
Yeah, 51.
Yeah.
Well, that whippersnapper on there that got to Kiss in the 80s. What the hell?
Let me tell you, he was saying you're way too young to talk about the old some of this stuff. So Warden, that was
he said about me? Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Wow.
All right.
It has to be him just thinking, oh, he's younger because he likes the other kid. No, I'm 51. I'm older than Stevie. Back in 1977, 78, I was more into the $6 Million Man and all that kind of crap, Charlie's Angels, not Kiss. I knew who they were. Don't get me wrong. I knew who they were.
Well, Hard Luck Woman will come up later on my list, but like I said, I can't see anybody but Peter. And there's a specific version that I like more than any of the other versions, and we'll get into that when it comes time on my list.
It was a big hit, wasn't it? Like top 20. It was a good hit, big hit from them.
I don't know if it ever went top 20. I don't know.
No, I think it was. I think it did.
Hit the Google machine and see.
I think because I know this, and I know Dr. Love went top 10 because it was not as big as Beth, of course, but it was.
Let me know what you find out now.
Keep talking.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead with my number 9, and it's off of I guess in Australia in honor of Mr. Pinocchio. We'll call it Dynasty. Dirty Living. Man, call it what you want to. I guess at that age, as a kid, Kiss could do no wrong. I knew stuff was different, but I didn't know. I wasn't like, okay, Kiss can't be playing this kind of music. They're a rock band. But Dirty Living, and that kind of fit Peter more than anybody. It sounded like a rough and tough song, like a song about somebody from the streets, and with the Cat Man, he was always looked like he was one of those guys from the streets and all that, and gangs and all this stuff. And he sounded like it too. His voice had that raspy voice, and it just fit him. But "Dirty Living" is my number 9.
Hard Luck Woman, U.S. Billboard Hot 100, number 15. It was a big hit for them.
Okay.
Yeah, that, and because Dr. Love, they could do no wrong back then. And you think about Kiss with all the radio play they didn't get, to have like top 10 singles, top 20 singles. That's how big that band was.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I guess my number. You were going to number 8. Did you go to number 8 or did?
8 for you.
What was your number 9?
Dirty Living.
Dirty Living. Okay. My number 8 it's probably something that Peter remembered when he was singing Dirty Living, remembers him doing back in was it second album? Doing a main line. Isn't that something about cocaine or something?
That's the rumor.
Yeah, main line. I don't know what that is. I thought it was maybe some cruise ship or something. I don't know. It's another, to me, I think that a lot of the grunge bands, they love Hotter Than Hell because it's got that grungy sound. And I remember, I just think it's a good song. The drums are cool. It's just, I can see, I've seen Eric Singer, I think, do this on like a cruise or something like that. And he does a pretty good job of it. He's got a pretty good chance of sometimes of, getting, Peter down, but it's another song that it wouldn't be the same without Pete. I mean, it's just another, he's got the voice for it. And it could be about cocaine. I was never into drugs, except Rogaine. It obviously didn't work. So, I mean, mainline, my number 8.
Yeah. That'll come up later for me too. But yeah, that's a great song. But I'll share my thoughts in just a few minutes.
I like that intro when it starts out, then it kind of like guitar like kind of goes back. I mean, it's just and it's really simplistic lyrics. But this is their second album. They're just putting shit out there to put on the tour. Yeah, it's not probably back then was great. But it's just shit they were putting on albums to fucking get out there and tour to keep themselves going. That's what they did.
That's how they made it. I mean, you look how many albums they put out in 6 albums in 6 years?
Yeah.
Not counting the live albums. But yeah, okay. My number 8. And there's a lot of rumors about what this song is about. It's off the debut album. Peter and Gene actually trading vocals back and forth. Nothing to Lose. The live version is incredible. Live one. And then the unplugged version was good too. Of course, everybody thinks it's about anal sex. And
it was written by Gene. It was.
Gene actually, in some interviews, has said, yeah, that's what it's about. Whether he was serious or not, I don't know. But the trade-off and Peter's voice, I mean, it's so distinctive, and it fit a lot of these Kiss songs. They knew how to pick which songs for him to sing. And you hear Gene do the chorus, the verse, and then Pete does the chorus. And it's just such a great song. I remember, because I've said this a lot, I wasn't able to get the first album till later on. For some reason, we never got that one until one year at Christmas when I was like 13, and I'd heard Nothing to Lose on a live, but I really hadn't paid much attention to it. But then when I was listening to the debut album, I was like, man, this is a freaking good song. And then hear the live version kills the studio version to me. It's so much energy that's one thing when you hear Pete live, especially back in the day. I don't know if it was the drugs he was on or what, but he had tons and tons of energy when he was singing.
I think he was just hungry too. I think that, he got successful. A lot of people do it. It happens to, I've said this in the past and I'll say it there. This is probably one of my least favorite Kiss songs. I don't know if it's because of the subject matter, but it's okay. It's just,
Yeah, I know. I got you.
I just, and it was weird when I was getting into Kiss. I remember, I'd buy an album and I'd go back and listen to it. And I remember I had the cassette for the first album, and then this song came up with Alive, and I knew enough about Kiss to go, why the hell they had the Alive version? This wasn't there, and of course it was what substituted in later releases. The original version, the studio version, isn't on the later releases.
All right. So
if it was on neither one, it would have been fine with me. Just not a.
Of course. Number 7.
Number 7 for me. Number 7 for me comes off this
solo album.
You talk about, people giving him a lot of shit for this album. This is probably one of the first Kiss albums I ever got because a buddy of mine gave it to me in high school. And he goes, hey, he gave this to me, and then he gave it to me. And then this is 1986, and hey, that's a shitty album, and point out to shame me. I don't care, I'll take it. Because I had other friends that gave me Destroyer and Alive because they didn't listen to them anymore. It was 10 years after the thing. But my song on this one is Don't You Let Me Down.
Don't you let me down.
You talk about, that song that's on Psycho Circus that everybody seems to hate but me. One thing about Pete, even when this song and on that one, it may not be and even on some of his stuff that the Shout Out Live guys did, he puts his heart into it. He's not mailing it in. Pete, and that's why I think that saves that song on Psycho Circus for me. And on this one, it's just you're just so much emotion. Don't You Let Me Down. It's a heartfelt ballad. It's a hidden gem that I think more people should have heard. But it gets shit on for so much. But I was going through this album. I like a lot on this album. There's more to come on it. But I would, and I got into it later, but I would put this above, Soul Station. It's the same thing that he gave Peter a bunch of shit for, but
exactly.
This one is better than, Peter, at least, he's got a couple covers on there, but his originals are great. I think, and you talk about Hooligan and stuff, but when Pete's able to, I don't know who he wrote this song with, doesn't really say on here, but great song, and it's not I like shit on all 4 solo albums.
I probably like about 80% of that album.
There's
a couple of songs I can't listen to, but majority of it I'll listen to. All right. Number 7 for me, you just talked about it a little bit earlier. You're number 8, Mainline. And, the whole rumor about maybe it's about drug use, mainlining drugs. I don't know. Just like the anal sex thing, I don't know. But freaking killer song. I remember, as a kid listening to Hotter Than Hell and noticing that difference in the sound, and not really knowing what the heck was going on with it. But I was like, is my freaking record messed up or something? But that, I think, I don't have a problem with it. I think it kind of gives Hotter Than Hell that distinctiveness. It's Hotter Than Hell when it sounds like. But Mainline, Pete had so many early on. He wasn't. Ace may have been afraid to sing, but Pete wasn't afraid to sing. And this is not the last one of Hotter Than Hell for me. But
he was just hungry. It's even like they said when he came back for the reunion tour, he was like that. He was the MVP for a long time.
Exactly.
It's like
that. But man,
honestly, brother, if I had to rate Kiss members, I would probably rate Pete above Ace.
Okay.
Not so much talent-wise, but singing and singing definitely, because I don't like his voice. But it's Peter doesn't get his due, and that's that. I'm not slagging on Ace, but Peter doesn't get his due. Peter.
I think this, and I've said this for a long time. Peter, Paul, Gene, Eric, maybe Bruce, all have better singing voices than Ace. But Ace is the songs they put him in, it fit. He may do a lot of that spoken word.
Yeah, that's fine.
Talking, but it fits Ace. Like Shock Me fits Ace. I mean, I could go on and on about New York.
No, I know. I'm
Fits Ace.
just saying that Ace gets a lot of love,
Well,
but I
yeah,
think
but
Pete
Ace's
should.
personality does that too.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Pete just. I guess it's because it's his episode, but I just think he deserves more. I mean, I always
I'm
kind of
not
gravitate.
denying that.
I gravitated. I mean, to me, the original four. I mean, Ace would probably be the last for me.
Okay.
But
Oh,
we talked about that when we did our top guitar solo and guitarist, and I think you and Joe were like Ace, and I was like, well, no. He made like my number 7. Y'all were like, oh my god, what is wrong with you? But
all
Ace
right.
is. You know what about Ace? Ace is like David Lee Roth with me. I actually kind of like his solo stuff more than I do when he was in the band. I mean, I love Roth era, David, but I love Ace's stuff in the 80s. But maybe that's because other people did more of the work. Than, yeah, exactly.
So number 6. What was your number 7?
My number 7 was Don't Let Me Down.
Don't let me down. That's right.
Stevie, when you forget that, you just let me down.
Yeah, I just let you down for sure. All right, number 6 for you.
Did you do your number 7?
Yeah, I just talked about Mainline.
Oh yeah, and I for giving you shit for forgetting
You let
mine.
me down.
Another one off Hotter Than Hell. I saw your boy Ace sing this, or he didn't sing it. Somebody sang it for him when I saw Ace with Dawkins and Grandpa on it. And it was Strange Ways. And I remember telling my buddy, like back in the 90s, I go, man, check this song. It's all grungy. He goes, I hate that damn word. You know, it's, of course, during grungy and stuff. But Strange Ways, I have it written here that, you know, it's a hard rocking tune. I mean, grunge bands love this because this, I mean, if this would have come out, if you would have played for somebody in the 90s, they would have thought this was like some grunge band. Because that's how grunge was. It wasn't that perfect kind of thing the air bands were. It was sloppy, and you can, you know, you listen to it. I mean, that's one of Ace's best solos. You know, he does kick the ass on that one. But I saw him do it, but it just wasn't the same without Pete singing it. It just, you know, I think they did this. Didn't they do this or one of the songs at one of Eddie Trunk's thing a few years ago?
Yeah, Creatures Fest. Yeah,
but Strange Ways, just, you know, another song that it's got to have Pete sing it. That, you know.
Yeah, I've got that a little bit further up on my list. So
I know you love this one. That's you've talked about your love for that one before.
Yeah. Number 6 for me is off Rock and Roll Over, and well, it's actually 2 songs off Rock and Roll Over. Go Baby Driver. Ooh, what a rider! I mean, he's just.
How does that go again, Stevie?
I can't repeat that because we'll get fined for that. I'll get a copyright strike.
Too much like the original.
Too much like the original, exactly. This is another one of those songs where, I mean, probably you hear the most energy from Pete on this song. I mean, because he is getting into it big time. And I mean, at the end of it, you can hardly understand what he said. He's just screaming. Yeah. But yeah, and it fits Rock and Roll Over. Perfect.
He doesn't say fucko, does he?
No, he didn't say fucko in this one. But yeah, Baby Driver. That you pair that up with I guess Mr. Speed on Rock and Roll Over. 2 awesome songs. I don't know if they're back to back or what, but I just remember hearing this as a kid, and I'm like, good gosh, this guy is freaking awesome. And I mean, you know, back in the day, you only had 4, and it was hard for me to pick. Actually, I'll tell you this: back in the day, we get Halloween, the old Kiss Halloween costumes. My brother gets Ace. Who do I get? I don't get Paul. Peter Criss. So, Baby Driver, number 6 for me.
My number 5 is Baby Driver.
Okay.
There was a movie that came out a few years ago with John Hamm and Kevin Spacey, I believe. And I remember, and I love the movie. The movie was great. I think, what's his name? Who's the guy that's the cowboy fan that had the stroke, they think? Or Jamie Foxx? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a friend of mine, I put a thing on Facebook about, you know, crushes, and she's a big Eagle fan. And I go, you know, he's a cowboy fan, right? And I remember the movie was like it's a good rocking tune. They should have put this on the movie, especially the chase
Should
scenes.
have. I agree.
And I'm like, why did they miss out on this? I mean, does Peter own this and he didn't want to do it? Did Gene not want it? Gene would have licensed it, but I don't know who wrote the song. But there was a time, especially in probably, when Rock and Roll Over was my favorite Kiss album. You start off with, I think I've listened to Rock and Roll Over more than I did any other album, because that is like probably what they were trying to get when they did Dress to Kill and the first 3 albums. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. This is the production they were trying. This is why they went back to it after Alive. They wanted that raw sound, and they got it finally on this one. And and you talk about Mr. Speed. I would say this more to Making Love. A lot of people don't like Making Love. I love that song. I love that live version. Mr. Speed to me doesn't have the energy this does. It seems like it's a real, like when Paul goes, ow, he's like, ow. It doesn't, it's slow. Like it needs to be sped up like Baby Driver, like Love 'Em and Leave 'Em. I mean, it's just, I just think that, I think their overall best, rock record is Rock and Roll Over, but I burned myself out, and I think that's why Hard Luck One was lower, and I think that's why Baby Driver, it's always been one of my favorites. It's just kind of fatigue with me, because I would play that album all the time. But yeah, they missed out. It would have been, I think it would have just enhanced the movie, because it's like, it'd be kind of like, I think I would put it up there with like a chase scene in like Radar Love, or some like car chase scene, it just a fast balls through the wall. And Peter's just at his height with this, man. He's got a top 15 single, got this. He's feeling pretty good about himself, man.
Yeah, just like with Ace and Peter, when they got that success, like Ace with the solo album, Peter with Beth, and a couple other songs, they wanted more, and nobody can blame them for that.
I don't. No,
I don't blame them for that at all. But they wanted more and more, and Gene and Paul, I don't know if they were willing to kind of. They gave him a little bit more as time went on, especially Ace. But it just makes you wonder if they had said, okay, we're going to give you like maybe 3 songs on this album. 3 songs, we'll get 3 apiece. We'll have 12 songs on the album, and we'll get 3 apiece. But that didn't happen. So,
what I think would have been pretty cool if they just would have done the best of the solo albums.
Made it a Kiss album. Yeah, exactly. Big, not getting off subject here, but a big announcement or rumor coming out now. I just saw on Barstool Sports reporting that apparently Bill Belichick and the Patriots have agreed to part ways after this season. No surprise there. It's been
I saw a headline earlier. He said one of the coaches is gone. I knew this was coming.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's no surprise. A lot of people were saying he may end up in Washington next year. I don't think that would be a good move for Washington or Carolina.
I think Washington's coach deserves more. I don't think he's been given with previous ownership. I like their coach. I think he's a solid human being. I think he deserves more, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think he's gone. What I'm hearing, he's definitely
Ron Washington. Yeah, that's no. Ron Washington was the coach. He's the coach. Isn't he the coach now? Didn't he get a job somewhere? He was the coach of the Texas Rangers back in the day. Ron Washington.
Oh, right? I think you're right there. Let's see. Number 5 for me, and this is a specific version of the song. Because the studio version is so much fatigue for me, and then you've got some of the other versions that have come out. I bet I've heard this version I've heard the song 5 million times in my lifetime. But Beth, and I'm talking about from the MTV Unplugged version, that version with them going acoustic.
Good version, great version, yeah.
And it was so special to hear them, because that was the first time those guys have played together in a long time. And then you're 79 to 96, 17 years. and you see them playing Beth, and you hear that version. I just listened to it a couple times the other day when I was making this, but yeah, that version is so great. Nothing against the studio version, because in the day that was, I remember hearing it the first time and I was like, wow, this is freaking out. This is so different. And then if you ever hear the demo for this, Beck, it is such a terrible song. They did so much work to it, and it ended up being a big hit. Great song, but the MTV Unplugged version for me is number 5.
Yeah, speaking of that version, I think that's another missed opportunity they did on Unplugged. That along with See You Tonight. I mean, I think coming home,
Single, yeah.
I think that even re-releasing what's that song that was off Revenge, the Paul thing. That's a great version. Or I still love you. I mean, it's.
Oh, I still love you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that there were songs on there that could have been singles, but they were so big right then when everybody's talking, they probably didn't care.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 4 is we're bringing back the Mr. Peter Criss' solo album here.
Can't wait to hear this one.
I think this is one of the best songs out of the 4. Not the best, but it's up there with "It's All Right." It's up there with "New York Groove." It's up there with "Radioact." I mean, it to me. If this was on the Kiss album when they did this would have been Peter singing. It's called "You Matter to Me." Look out, the sky is crying, endless tears. I mean, it's just another freaking song that I want to dedicate to Stevie right now because he matters to me so much for having me on this podcast. But you matter to me. You matter to me. Just another great Peter Criss song. You like the song?
Oh yeah, I like the song. I like it, but it's not on my list.
Well, you're wrong then.
I know. And
the kind of sugar Papa likes up next, or what?
No. You. Yeah, I hate you because you don't agree with me. Number 4 for me, you mentioned it earlier. This was actually your number 9, "Hard Luck Woman." Like you said, I don't know if they were trying to get another hit after Beth with Pete. I think that was what they were aiming for.
They did,
and they did. I mean, like you said, 15th.
Yep.
It didn't.
Not very far from Beth. Beth was 8, 6 or 7 or whatever.
The promo video, like you talked about earlier, that is a great video to me. I mean, like you said, Paula and Ace playing the guitar together, and then Gene just looks so out of place though playing that song. I mean, he's trying to do the demon look, doing this, and he's looking all around like, what the heck do I do next? What the heck do I do next? I got to get this sneer, and he can't stick his tongue out playing "Hard Luck Woman." But anyway,
he still doesn't look as bad as he would have in the "Who Wants to Be Lonely" video.
Oh, gee, you talking about
or "All Night's" pretty bad too.
Yeah, okay. I agree with you there, but yeah, and like you said, I can't see anybody but Pete singing this song. Rod Stewart, okay, maybe I don't know if he would have done a better version. I really don't. I don't know if.
But maybe it's 1988. Smashes is coming out. We have Eric Carr record it, releases a single. Good song. It was a top 15 single before. It would have been a lot better decision than Beth because it wasn't a Peter song.
Yeah,
that was a slap in the face. That was a slap in the face.
That was,
and the way they did it, to like, hey, do you mind taking a cut, not telling what was going to happen, just there, and they didn't tell him the whole story.
Yeah. I mean, even without the internet back then, I knew that was a slap in the face to
Eric Carr didn't want to do it.
No, he didn't.
I mean, why not release "Hard Luck Woman"? It's Garth Brooks did a good version. Have Eric sing. Eric would have been great on this, and it wouldn't have been. It probably wouldn't. I mean, it's a Paul Stanley song. You don't have to worry about the rights. And 88, that would have been a good ballad for the 80s redone. You know what I mean?
Yep. All right. So who was your number 4 was what?
You Matter to Me.
You Matter to Me.
Oh, and my number 4 was.
Ha ha ha. All right, number 3 for you.
Number 3, talking about somebody that other people have done it, but it's not the same without. I love Eric Carr. but it's not the same, especially when it's live. It's the live version of Black Diamond. I mean, it's just, I mean, you talk about balls to the wall, Peter Criss in his prime, just, pre-Beth, pre the success thing about it. I love Alive. That's probably, it's my favorite live album of all time. There's just so much energy when it hits, and I think Singer and I think Carr did a great version of it. But I mean, it's just Peter Criss, man. His version is just awesome.
Yeah. I love Eric Carr to death, one of my favorite members, but he'll never, it just doesn't sound the same. Black Diamond doesn't sound the same unless it's Peter singing it. Eric
but
Singer.
But it would have been, they played it in the 80s, and I think he did a good job because I don't think Paul definitely couldn't have done it. But, because he didn't have that raspy voice. But I think Eric's voice was closest to Peter. I think that's why he pulled it off.
Oh, so number 3 for you is Black Diamond. All right. Number 3 for me. And we're going back to the solo album, 78 solo album. This song, I would have not been upset and I know it would have never happened. But if they took, after a while, Beth's the highlight for Peter at a concert most of the time. He does it. He used to do it at the encore, like the reunion tour and all that. How about one night take that out and put what I think is a better ballad? And I'm a sucker for a ballad, but the last song on the solo album, I Can't Stop the Rain.
This is New York. This is New York.
Yo. And I've tried for a long time to figure out what they're whispering. You ever hear that whisper? There's right after he says that, when the piano starts playing, there's somebody whispering something. And I cannot figure out what it is. I've looked it up. Nobody has it up there what it is, but
you ought to ask Zeus. He's a Peter guy.
Great. I mean, just a great ballad. I don't think it gets enough credit for it. Gosh, I have sat there as a kid, and even now I'll sing it in the car. But I Can't Stop the Rain, and I remember hearing it, and it's got, everybody talks about what was it? What's the song off Animalize that uses the F word?
Get All You Can Take.
Get All You Take. This, and they were like, "Oh, Kiss said a cuss word." Guess what? That wasn't the first time. I Can't Stop the Rain. He does that. I think he uses GD in that one.
Tipper Gore wasn't paying attention back in '78. That's probably why,
But just great. And this sounds kind of autobiographical about him. He's talking about walking through the city and coming across a girl. Would you mind? Would I find you alone if I came to your apartment? It's somebody I'm sure he had a relationship with and had gone sour, but he's just saying, I can't stop the rain. Like, it's a hard time. Here it comes again. So,
unlike the Aerosmith version, ain't got no rubbers. Now it's raining all the time.
No. But I can't stop.
Just another heartfelt Peter song. I mean, It didn't make my list, but there's like, there's like the only, the only song, Rock Me Baby or Easy Thing. I don't like those. They're not really my favorite, but I'm like you. 80% of the band, there's probably 2 songs on it I don't like. Yeah. And that, it didn't make my list, but it's,
All right. Your number 2.
My number 2, I've said this before about this song when we've talked about this album. If this would have been Aerosmith or like Lynyrd Skynyrd or some band that didn't have makeup when this came out, this would have been a staple of rock radio. But because it was Kiss, it's not. To me, it's my favorite solo by Ace. I think it's a very, very underrated song. It was the first song on this album that I grabbed. I grew up, I had listened to Alive, Creatures, and then I go back and get Dressed to Kill. I'm like, what the hell? I thought they looked all demonic in the 70s, and Dressed to Kill was Room Service. So like, he's thinking about Room Service. Yeah, now I know what he's thinking about. Getaway. Getaway is probably my favorite Ace and Peter moment. It's my favorite Ace solo. It's short and sweet, great Ace solo, both hungry. And I think this should have been a hit on rock radio. I don't know why. It's a great song. I mean, it's simplistic. I mean, it's not Hooligan, but it's a catchy song. And they've never done it live except, with Eric Singer on a cruise, which is a crime. But, this and like there's a song by Aerosmith I talked about. It's called Spaced. They both came around 74, and they're like two of my favorite songs, and they've never done it live, not in the concert setting. But like I said, it is Aerosmith, somebody else, it just would have been a hit. It's just a crime that Getaway wasn't a hit. And I will go to my grave saying that.
Go to your grave saying that. I'm going to put it on your headstone. It's a crime that Getaway wasn't a hit.
He got away all right. Right in the ground.
All right. So number 2 for me, you talked about this one earlier. This was your number 6. Strange Ways.
I knew that.
Like you said, that's what we didn't know back in the day when we listened to it the first time, that grungy kind of sound. And
I'm surprised isn't your first. I'm surprised isn't your first.
Yeah, so no doubt about what my number 1 is, but you'll see. But yeah, just like you said, that sound and Pete's voice. Can you imagine any other guy, Ace, Paul, or Gene singing this song? No. This song fit Pete, and to hear him and Ace play it at Creatures Fest. I mean, I can't imagine being there, but just hearing it on YouTube or wherever was freaking awesome. I mean, I got chill once when I heard it. And granted, they're 70 years old, but Pete still sounded like the Pete back from Hotter Than Hell singing that song. The Ace guitar solo in the song is pretty killer.
One of his best in my opinion.
I mean, it's pretty awesome. Yeah,
he had that guy singing for him that plays. Who's the guy that sings for him in the band? It's like he was good. No, I don't know who he was when I saw Ace a few years ago, but it just ain't Pete. It just ain't the same.
No, it's not. I mean, you're not going to get that's just not going to happen with somebody.
He did Love Gun, and of course, it ain't the same without Paul. I mean, it's just song. Yeah,
we've heard it so many times, though.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get to your number 1, I got a kind of semi-list from one of our listeners. Joey Romanek sent in his
cool.
Some of his top. Dirty Living is probably his favorite, followed by Mainline, Strange Ways, and you'll love this, Getaway. So
yes, sir.
Thanks to Joey for listening and sending in his choices.
Thanks, Joey.
Top 5. All right, let's get to your number 1.
Well, I'm going to agree with Joey again because my number 1 is Dirty Living. Number 1 and number 2 could have been switched, Getaway or Dirty Living. I just find it funny with this album is how Pete was so out of it, but he still nailed this song.
Yes, he did.
He didn't. I don't know if he played drums on it. I don't know the Anton Fig thing. None of us will probably ever know. But I got a demo one time of like unreleased Kiss stuff, and it had like a 12-minute version of Let's Put the X in Sex, which was all keyboards, and they had like a 6-minute version of this song, and it was a badass mix. And you can hear Paul. And I like that you can hear Paul. It's getting to me in the back. I love that Paul backing vocals. But just, this, if you ever had a song that described excess, the height of disco that just was just, they talk about I Was Made for Loving You. Man, this could have been mixed and been a freaking dance song. This is a great tune.
Yep.
And, and it's just another, I think, missed opportunity Kiss did. I think with Pete here, we've kind of highlighted a lot of missed opportunities that they've done. Talking about releasing Beth as, the unplugged version. Dirty Living, that's just as good as I Was Made for Loving You, in my opinion. And I love the verse that both songs. But Dirty Living, just getting to me, dude. I just love this song.
It's getting to me.
But if you're looking for like, go look for the demo. It's probably on YouTube. It's like a dance mix version of Dirty Living. It's badass, dude.
Yeah. Dirty Living was my number 9. So Not quite as high on the list, but all right. Can you guess what my number one is?
I don't. Oh, hold on. Let me look. Let me look at mine.
Should be obvious.
I know it's not kissing time, so
What?
I you meant. I mean, I have a few honorable mentions, but I don't know what. Is it okay? Tell me this: is it on a Kiss album or is it a solo album or what? Just give me
Kiss
that.
album.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Don't tell me.
Um,
I missed it. I don't know. Yeah, because I don't know.
And I'm like you. It was on your list earlier, but I'm like you. The live version, Black Diamond.
Oh, okay.
I mean, and one of the best parts is when he says there's nothing that you can do, and he screams it. I mean, I can't even try to mimic that. And another part I like in there is when he does, because sometimes he will play with Paul Stanley and say, Paulie's got you under his thumb. And I think the first time I heard him do that was on the reunion tour, and I forgot where they were at. He said, Paulie's got you under his thumb. And then Paul Stanley turns around and looks like, and does like, hey. So I mean,
that's on the script. What the hell?
Yeah, what the hell are you doing? But
what does he say? Is it Kiss loves you, rock and roll? What is that on?
Rock and roll.
Yeah, okay, that's right. Okay.
When they finish at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this one, man, I mean, Black Diamond, I can tell you,
just
definitely in my top 10 Kiss favorite songs of all time.
You know, and I'll say this about Black Diamond, it's not Peter related, but it's like when you hear that Gene's bass, that I mean, that just shows how great of a bass player he is. He always slacks off of his playing, and Gene doesn't get the love he does on the bass. That just proves right there that in like, Detroit Rock City. I mean, Gene's a hell of a bass player. He's underrated, just like Peter is a vocalist.
Yep. But Black Diamond and the live version, especially, not a bit, don't mind the studio version, but the weird stuff at the end of that, I don't understand what they were doing there when it all slows down. But
that part they show when Ace and Peter are all messed up at the end, and that wasn't exposed, I guess, extreme close up when they're playing that part. But they're playing the studio version of that where they're walking all slow, or it was Peter Criss, I guess.
But and the perfect song, if you didn't have the Rock and Roll All Night as a closer, that would have been a closer. And of course, it does close the regular set before they get.
It was for a while. It was for a while.
Till they did Rock and Roll All Night got so big.
Well, you have to with that,
Yeah, you cannot. I mean, the only thing I can say that I would have done different, and it would have been so cool if they just switched this up. And I know it never would have happened in a million years. The last concert, that Saturday night, they do Rock and Roll All Night, and Paul gets up and said, well, if you think that's it, I've got one more I want to sing for you, and this is fitting before we get out of here. And he breaks out and sings from his solo album, sings Goodbye. That would have been so freaking cool, because, goodbye, it's only for now. And because a lot of people are saying, it's not over. Do you hear what Dee Snider said? I believe they're through when they're in their coffins and laying 6 feet under.
I was listening to I listened to Tom and Zeus when they were talking about the show, and Zeus nailed it on the head. You have these people that just gotta piss on everything. Yeah. It's like that happens with, I don't go into that chat room and, hey, the Eagles lost the Super Bowl and give them shit, which I probably should. But they do that to me. There's people that, you give me shit about the Cowboys, but you're not on all the time and giving me crap. But there's just people that, and Dee Snider's a troll on shit like that. It's like you're a one-hit wonder, dude. You wore makeup. You ripped Kiss off. You were a blonde Gene Simmons, dude. And I think he's a hell of a guy. I think he's a great, when you hear him talk, smart guy. But, man, he needs to get over this freaking fascination with, I don't know why Paul doesn't talk to me. Well, what the fuck do you think? I wouldn't talk to your ass either if I was Paul Stanley.
Yeah.
But that's just,
that's there. But he's not the only one saying the tour. They're going to tour.
If it was 10 years ago, I would buy into that. They're in their 70s. They're not coming back.
I don't think so either. I think I really, and somebody asked me the other day about it. Somebody, it's not really a Kiss fan, but they were like, "Don't you think they're going to come back again?" I said, "No." I said Paul Stanley is checked out. That
They
right.
can't physically do it anymore. If 10 years
Yeah,
ago,
well,
yeah.
people got to realize too. That's what I try to tell this guy too. They're in their 70s now. You imagine being in your 70s and wearing that. I mean,
You don't think Paul Stanley wants to be the Paul Stanley of 77 to 87 again? He just ain't. It just ain't
I,
it, dude.
I just think Paul Stanley's tired of being the lead singer of Kiss. I think he wants to do soul searching, and that's fine. I mean,
It just sucks that COVID hit, because I just think we would have had a much better ending than we did.
yeah.
I will believe that, but I just think that it's like a job. It's like, yeah, I'll stay, and you got to train that new person, but you're ready to check out. And a lot of people, they retire, you never hear from them again. You give them a party, you never hear from them again.
Well, when it begins and I know it is his job, but when something that you did that was fun and you worked hard at it had success, but when it gets to be where it's more of a job, I think
Yeah.
that's when you lose interest and you're ready to get out. And I
And
think that's
what did Paul Stanley always say? It's like, well, it keeps us from getting a real job. And when it becomes a real job, it
exactly.
ain't fun, right? Gene, I think, would play to the day he dies on stage.
Oh,
I mean, yeah, he'd be in a wheelchair if he could.
Gene's going to keep this thing going. I mean,
I'd like to go see a solo band. I think that'd be great.
solo band, because if you listen to a lot of interviews with those guys, they are one of them like us that wants to hear some of the stuff that you hadn't heard in a while or never heard live. They pushed Gene to do that, and when they talked to Gene, he said, "Can you play that?" And they were like, "I mean, we can learn to play it if you want to sing it." But yeah, that's I would love to see a solo band, and I'm sure that's coming soon.
Hopefully, because he's not getting any younger.
No, but before we get out of here, we have to do something. And
honorable mentions? No honorable mentions, Stevie?
I mean, the only honorable mentions are there's not too many Pete songs. What do you got as honorable mentions?
I got "Kissing Time." I like that version. It's not like Gene. It's like, kind of like "Nothing to Lose." I like "Tossing and Turning." I like "Hooked on Rock and Roll." "I'm Gonna Love You," which off his solo, I like, and I can finally listen to it after all these years. Is Beth. I can listen to the studio version. I don't fast forward through Dress to Kill, Destroyer. I can listen to the whole thing now, and I appreciate the song for what it was. I'm not a big fan of Eric Singer, dude. I don't think that's a Pete song. And, a lot of people were saying, well, he was kind of petty, not letting him play in the replay. It's like, what did Tom say? It's like, oh, that should be a bonus.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like Beth. I think it's a cool song, because that actually helped connect me with some people that weren't Kiss fans. Like, oh shit, that's Beth. That's Kiss. I Was Made for Loving You's Kiss. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Beth was, I remember, back when I was a kid, that was the song I'd go around one of the songs I'd go around the house singing, because I mean, listened to it so many times I knew it. And but yeah. Let's say Getaway is a honorable mention for me. Tossing and Turning. Yeah, I can do that. But not many honorable mentions for me. Yeah,
that's the first time in the history of On the Fly.
Exactly.
Not very many. I have more than Stevie.
Turn over when we leave. I'm gonna make it harder on this top 10 list. But before we get off here, speaking of Kiss, who I call the ambassador of Kiss, probably the most gracious Kiss member ever. You never hear him bashing anybody in the band. He just congratulated them on
Vinnie Vincent, man. Vinnie Vincent.
Yeah, Vinnie Vincent. But yeah, happy birthday today to the man, one of the, if not the best guitar player at Kiss, Mr. Bruce Kulick. I mean, such a nice guy, so gracious all the time. And we wish him a happy birthday, and hope he has many more.
Hey, Bruce. Happy birthday.
Bruce here.
70 years old, man. Wow.
Years old, dude. He's like 20 years older than me.
He's as old as our parents, dude. Damn.
He could have been. He could have been your dad.
Yeah.
He's older.
He's 70 years old and he still has more hair, so it's probably not a thing, Stevie.
All right. So, any last words before we get out of here?
Well,
My voice is about to go.
we've done 3 so far, so you know what the next one's going to be.
Paul.
So
All those
that,
ahead of you, Paul.
that's going to be a hard one for me. That's just because, I mean, it was going to be. I mean, but the Peter Criss one, listening to it, I gotta, probably a 19-year-old guy getting into Kiss, 18-year-old guy not really liking too much like Beth and stuff. 51-year-old, I appreciate it. You'll believe me. And you gotta appreciate these guys where you got it. And I think that's kind of what's sad about them not being able just to kind of hug it out. Yeah. Because they're up in their 70s. I mean,
life is short.
Hell, I mean, hell, at 50 you can say most of your life's behind you, except for I mean, it's coming. So,
we talked about how hard it was to do the Gene list, but it's going to be just as hard doing the Paul, just because there's so many great songs he's singing. And narrowing it down to 10, it's going to be really, really tough.
You want to talk about an honorable mention list? It's going to be longer than the list itself.
Gene's was long enough, so I'm sure this one will be.
Hey now, Stevie, you never told me that story.
Talking about his tongue, dude.
Okay.
All right. So that's going to do it tonight, guys. I apologize for my voice being this way. Maybe next week it'll be back to normal. It's about to go right now, so I'm going to have to get something to drink pretty quick.
I apologize for it, too, and it's not even my fault.
Yeah, I apologize for Worden. Just in principle for Worden, in principle. But anyway.
I tell you what, though, man. Everybody around me was getting sick, and I was like, I got this game to go to. Let me get it after, and I lucked out.
That would have been so bad if you got
the only thing that happened for me, I was going home on Friday, and I had to leave Saturday next morning. I had a damn flat. So I had to go air it up. Got home. It's like, I'll deal with it Monday. Of course, I get home at 5 o'clock in the morning on Monday. Got to wake up at 8 to go to the appointment. Like, I don't want to do this. But, man, thank goodness I did, man, because it was just a nail. But, man, it's just, you got to be grateful for what you have, brother.
Exactly. There's always somebody out there that's got it worse than you do. Yeah. So, all right, guys.
Yeah, you could be a Steeler fan this year. So
exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true too. There too. The worst 7-6 team ever. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed, and be sure to send us your list if you want to. Tell us what your top Peter song is, and be sure to check us out. Spotify, Apple Music, Good Pods, Podchaser. Give us that 5-star review, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out all our Facebook channels. Go ahead, tell yours.
All things rock, hard rock, and metal. We've gotten a lot of new people. I know some of them are, bear with me that, they give you these positive messages that have nothing to do with it. Those go away, but we're getting a lot of rockers on there. I think it's up to 600. It kind of stalled there out at 200-300 there for a while. And that 80s page where we haven't done an 80s episode in a while, that's coming up in the near future. Stevie didn't know that, but I just thought I'd share it because it make you have to do it.
Yeah, checking that out.
But check out On the Fly, the group. That's gotten some new groups too. If we could just keep the porn out of there on Facebook. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. Facebook will flag a comment or something, but they totally don't see the porn. I'm like,
exactly.
Hey, if you're gonna send that to our personal accounts, just not the ones that everybody can see us on.
Oh, great. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week. Hope you guys have a great week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and get ready for the fat man coming in. I'm not talking about Worden, the fat bald-headed man with the beard. I'm not talking about Worden, but we'll see you next time.
Hey.
We'll
see ya
On the Fly.